It's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Hey people, so I wanted to just quickly recap today's trade. I'm going to try and recap every single trade until I release the course, and then obviously I'll throw more from time to time as well. So this is a trade on pound and dollar. If you look at the overall trend, you can see it's pretty bearish, right? We're overall moving to the downside, so it makes sense to look for sales, right? So when we jump down to the 1 minute time frame, before I do that, I just want to say this is a 15-minute refined order block. So I identified it on a higher time frame, specifically the 4 hour to the 2 hour, and then I just refined it to this 15-minute last up candle before the down move. Okay. Now, if we just go to the 1 minute time frame, I'll show you pretty much everything. I walked through what I did. So obviously we had the previous Asian range. We had the false move, which obviously cleared liquidity from the lows of the Asian range. As you can see, it's just collecting these equal lows. Then, as you can see, the New York session started to kick in. The London session, sorry. Between those 6 till 12 hours. Well, not 6 to 12 hours, but between 6 a.m. till 12 noon. And as you can see, we've seen that London bullish move on the pound. And then as the New York session kicked in, we were expecting that sell-off from this overall supply zone. And obviously, this wasn't a perfect trade in the world, most perfect trade in the world. But I'm just trying to recap every single trade that I take, so you can use it as a learning curve. So there was many things that I did wrong, and I'll discuss that with you shortly. But yeah, as you can see, price up into the overall supply zone, broken structure. You could have mitigated this order block here and looked to sell from there. However, price broke in this structure, again closed below this one, and also took out this structure. Price came and tested this small time frame supply zone, as you can see there, right? 1 minute time frame supply zone, sorry. And pretty much what we was looking at is obviously to sell from there and obviously target these demand zones. We've got to take these demand zones into account pretty much. But as you can see, price came back down. And at the time of setting this, I was on the 15-minute chart and I was looking for my alert to go off, which was right here, right? And this is how I managed it, stupidly, because if I just went on the 1 minute time frame and monitored the 1 minute 1 minute demand zones, then it would have been a different story. I would have took that, all 8.5%, right? But I ended up closing for around 2.88%. Again, it's not a loss, but I did definitely learn from it. But it can't always be on the charts. I can't always do everything right. But as you can see, price came back down, tapped into this demand zone. So if you were like sort of a hedge trader, you like getting in and out positions on the opposite sides, then that would have been valid after this bullish candle, whatever. And that would have been a nice trade. As you can see, price broken structure and tapped into this 1 minute order block, right? So if you were looking for both buys and sells, then that's fine. You would have got in for a sell here, buy there, and you would have understood it, right? If I was on the charts, probably would have done the same. But I was I was inactive. I was away from the charts just for that little bit, and price came down to 8.5% before going back up to closing at 2.88%. So like I said, a bit annoyed, but end of the day, it is what it is, and it was my own fault for looking at the 15-minute times. We should have just looked at the 1 minute times and just started to monitor it a bit better. And then price came back up. Also to note as well, I took this trade a bit early. So that was a bad trade, really bad decision. Because as you can see, 12 o'clock kicked in and price was starting to range here and came back down, and as you can see, reversed, right? So obviously if price was coming down, New York reversed, so we're looking for buys. Right, so it makes sense to buy from this demand zone as we close above this previous demand zone. So this is the only valid demand zone. So again, I traded New York reversals and I traded it wrong in that case. But I was respecting the higher time frame structure and the overall supply zone that I was tapping into anyways. As you can see, price came back in, tapped into this one here, but I missed this one. I don't think I was on the charts between this time because it was I exited the trade at 12:30. In which I probably just left it for a bit, and then 15 minutes later, price presents itself with another opportunity for a sell opportunity. Because remember, we're still within the supply zone, and we're still bearish until we take out the highs, right? And then, as you can see, price came back up, but we've got to notice the difference between a liquidity sweep and breaking structure. Price cleared liquidity to the left before breaking structure to the downside, also creating, looking to mitigate this most recent order block. As you can see, price came up, and my entry was on the open. Tiny bit of drawdown, 1.5 pip of drawdown, 1.25 pips of drawdown, and the price, pretty much rallied off to my entry, where I was looking partials, because again it was a demand zone, 5.56%, but as I closed 0.5% before getting up that break even, I took around 2.78%. So pretty much what happened is I took partials here. I was looking to continue to hold, and then price just pretty much continued to come up and up and up, took us out of break even. But what I should have done is just monitored this high here, and obviously should have closed as price closed above this high, and then I obviously would have got a bit a bit of a bigger return there, so 3.5%, right? But all in all, it was a decent trade. You can just pause it and study this if you want to. It was a nice trade. I followed my plan, and the only thing I didn't do was take into account the New York session time. I keep forgetting the time, hence why I've got this thing at the minute to help me. But I forgot the time, and it was a silly mistake, and managed to trade incorrectly. So use it as a learning curve. But again, I still walked away with profit, and that's the best thing about smart money trade. Smart money trading in general. So yeah, 2.88%, 2.78%, in total 5.66%. Okay, so not a bad trade. Again, could be better. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. But thank you for watching. And like I said, I'm going to try and recap every single trade, and just try and get them out there. And I know obviously it isn't much. You understand the overall market structure of the market. I need to show you that. Just build a narrative from the high time frames and just do it down to the low time frames. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next trade recap.